Hello, everybody, and welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith. This is a channel which is all about vinous education. I bring you information and topics about wine in great detail so you can get more understanding and enjoyment from one of life's greatest pleasures. So this is a video on Trento Doc, the mountain bubbles traditional method, sparkling wines from North Italy. So if you are interested, please do look at this video. We're going through the growing environment and vineyard management. It follows the syllabus of the Diploma WSET Level 4, but those of you interested in this topic will find it useful. Let's get rocking and rolling talking about Trento Doc. So this is series 7 of the Italian sparkling wines, and this is a three-parter. Well, let's rock and roll talking about Trento Doc. So just to get an idea of the location to begin with. So Trento Doc is within Trentino, and Trentino is within the autonomous region of Trentino Alto Adige. Now, on your map there, the shaded out grey part to the north is the Alto Adige, or the Südtirol, which is the most mountainous northern section. Trentino, in green there, centered around the city of Trento, is our southern area. So we are bordering the likes of Lombardia. We are bordering the like of Lake Garda, Lago di Garda down here, for example, and Veneto, Venice, and Verona. So it's this nice sort of green expanse here. Lots of different wine produced here. And the area also makes, of course, the mountain bubbles. Trento Doc is its name. It's a registered trademark, and it has the word Trento and then Doc in it. Doc meaning the quality, and Trento as the name of the major city in the middle. So what about its growing environment? How the grapes are grown and what kind of conditions we find that in. So we know that it's located in the north of Italy. It's in sight of the Alps. It's not on the Alps like Alto Adige, but it's in sight of the Alps. But Trentino still has a warm continental climate, but it does have those marked cooling influences. And that's because we get that cool air that descends down in this area from the Alps, for example. But it's very worth talking here about the daytime summer temperatures. Now, these can be high because the mountains offer protection from cold winds coming from the north, and heat builds up on the valley floor between the high mountains during the growing season. So if you were to, say, drive from Verona up here, heading towards Trento and then eventually onto Bolzano, you'll drive through the valley. The road, of course, is in the bottom of the valley, and you'll have mountains on either side of this area. It's quite spectacular. So you actually can't see Lago di Garda when you are leaving Verona, for example, because you have mountains on that side. Now, all of these factors here, so talking about the fact that we have quite warm conditions during summer and that heat gets trapped because of the mountains we find here, you have higher daytime temperatures. And that's more than what we would expect in terms of this location here, because it is a mountainous area and also with this altitude. So it's quite unusual. A little bit more on that as well. Now, we know it has warm daytime temperatures. However, the nighttime temperatures can drop rather considerably. So we have, therefore, an equating high diurnal range. So we get that cold air descending from the mountains at night, really dropping the temperature. And then, of course, the heat getting trapped by the sun in the daytime and raising it. So you have this real large swing, this diurnal swing. Now, having such cold nights mean that the grapes retain acidity, which is particularly important, of course, for sparkling wine production, certainly traditional method sparkling wine production. The geology that we find here, so I have visited Trento a number of times. I have been invited on a trip out by Trento Doc. Very wonderful it was as well. This is a picture I took whilst I was at one of the producers called Mazo Matisse. And this just goes to show you the type of bedrock that you find here and the type of protruding rock. So there's a lot of limestone. You can see the white rocks there in the background. And these limestone typically has very high levels of silica as well, which is quite important in terms of a little bit of that sort of bringing the moisture down into the soil. Silica is very useful for that and a very abundant mineral within soils of the earth as well. So we find that the soils generally are quite stony. They are well drained and aerated, and they're poor in nutrients, certainly on the steeper slopes. And all of this contributes to a slow, steady growth. This will result in wines that have a rather significant high intensity, which of course is what we want. Now, the vineyards for Trento Doc are typically on slopes above the valley floor, sitting at somewhere like 400 to 700 meters, but we don't really have vineyards going too much outside of that number. Now, these elevations, and also in conjunction with that high diurnal range, mean that fruit will take longer to ripen, building gently but steadily the flavor intensity whilst retaining essential acidity. And in fact, the harvest here is normally somewhere around 2 weeks later than Franciacorta. Now, working on these hillsides and often on steep slopes will, of course, add considerable cost to the production here, as, of course, work will need to be done by hand. And you'll see in that picture there, rather a wonderful amount of slope action at Ferrari Vineyards. Now, in terms of vine training here. So vines are either trained to the Gio on sloping vineyards, or they will have this picture. This is the Rotary vineyard, another key producer. And this is the pergola system on the steeper terraced vineyards. And you'll find planting densities at around 4,500 to 6,000 plants per hectare. Chardonnay will tend to be found on the cooler sites. So that's normally those sites which are a little bit higher in altitude, those that might be facing something like east or even sort of northeast, whereas Pinot Noir will be found on the sort of mid and bottom slopes on warmer south and southeast facing aspect. So let's have a little look at problems in the vineyard. The main diseases are in the two forms of downy mildew, that you'll see here in this picture, and botrytis, depending on the weather conditions. The lowest slopes and the valley floor are susceptible to frost in spring. But once again, you don't tend to find too many vineyards there. There are some, but not too many. Most of them are on the hillsides. There's more apple production, in fact, found down on those valley floors. And then your harvest. Winemakers will usually determine a picking date by acidity, typically with pHs at about 3.1 to 3.2, which of course is fairly low, and that has fairly high TAs. And the harvest will normally start in that early September. Remember, we've already mentioned that, in fact, harvest is a couple of weeks behind Franciacorta, and Franciacorta starts in that kind of middle of August towards the start of September, where it's more consistently here at the start of September to the middle of that month. Okay, well, there we are in terms of the growing environment and vineyard management for the Trento Doc traditional method sparkling wine. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you'd like to watch the final video on winemaking here, talking about the distinct differences that one will find with Trento Doc, then of course this video, as mentioned earlier, is only available to subscribers of the Wine with Jimmy e-learning portal. You'll find the address for that at the bottom of the slide and on the comments section. And please do get in touch with your comments or your remarks about the area. Maybe you've visited, maybe you've tried the wines. Do you like them? It'd be great to hear from you. But until next time, I've been Jimmy Smith, and see you on the other side. Ciao for now. Goodbye.